Hola, amigas, and welcome to Amiga Handle Your Shit podcast. Today, I have a beautiful friend of mine. Her name is Vera Jimenez, and she is a superstar. She's very well known here in Los Angeles. She is a meteorologist. Yes, she is. She's on KTLA Los Angeles. Wow, she's a senior meteorologist. She's also a real estate investor. She's also a healthy living advocate, business mentor, and traffic reporter. So let me tell you a little bit more about Vera. She has 20 years experience in front of the camera. She has learned the importance of maintaining healthy habits in order to look, feel, and perform her best on TV. She has also learned that physical and mental health go hand in hand. She teaches others how to age gracefully by understanding the connection between the mind, body, and skin. She believes we can all flourish by being good to ourselves, our community, and our planet. Vera loves teaching people how to create physical and financial outcomes they deserve. With a diverse background in wellness, TV reporting, business, ownership, and mindfulness, she possesses the skills required to teach and mentor those around her to live the best life possible. Her belief is that we only get one go at it this life, and we better make the best of it. Wow. She's got an incredible story, and I can't wait for you all to hear her. And without further ado, here is my beautiful friend, Vera Jimenez. Okay. Hello, 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 and welcome to Amiga Handle Your Shit podcast. I am excited here. I have a beautiful, beautiful friend. Her name is Vera Jimenez. You might have seen her on KTLA. She is the best meteorologist, hands down. Okay. And if you
Thank you. You're
haven't,
very kind.
you're so, yeah, of course, you're welcome, my love. And if you haven't seen her, you need to see her. She's on in the evening at 6, right at 6
Mhm.
p.m., 6:30. And then I think you're back on at
10,
11 or 10.
uh, 10 to 11 and then 11 to 11:30.
Okay, so there you go. You have so many opportunities to go check her out. But there's so much more to her than being a meteorologist. Obviously, she's a Latina, she's badass, she was born in Mexico, and I can't wait for you all to learn more about her. So, Vera, thank you for being here. Welcome. I'm over the moon that I get to have a celebrity here.
No, no celebrity, not at all. Not at all. You're a celebrity. The work that you do is really awesome. Maybe you coach people, you help people, you inspire people. That is truly life-changing, and I admire what you do, and I just, I think what you do is amazing.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that, my friend. And
Thank you.
okay, we're two badasses.
Sounds good. I'll take it.
All right, my loves. Okay, so this beautiful Latina, I know you have a history. You come from a family, Mexicanos.
Yep.
You're Mexicana, right?
Mhm.
So tell us all about that, your upbringing, because it's super important for amigas. Whenever to handle their shit, they need to really, it starts from the
Yep,
beginning of time, right?
it
Making
does.
decisions from the beginning. So we want to know more about you. You were born in Mexico, where in Mexico, and when?
So 1972, I'll be 49 this year.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my family moved here. So my family's from Michoacan. That's where we're from. And I still have some family there, but most of my family is now here. We moved to the States when I was 3, and we moved to Garden Grove. We moved to Orange County. We lived in Santa Ana in these apartments for a little while, but then we moved to Garden Grove. And my mom is still in the house that I grew up in. I'm the last of 6.
Ooh.
My dad died when I was 3, and my mom never remarried. So you can imagine that 6 people in a 3-bedroom house with 1 bathroom.
Wow. That, that's incredible.
Imagine that.
Yeah.
Imagine that.
Wow.
So yeah, so we were really lucky because we had extended family. I had aunts and uncles. My mom comes from a pretty close family, so we all helped each other out. In fact, my mom's little brother was a resident and a citizen. We were not. We came here illegally. We crossed the border illegally in bits and pieces, just like most families do. And eventually, through the Ronald Reagan amnesty program, is how we got permanent residency. But that was a really long and slow and tough journey. One of the things that they did back then that they aren't doing now, I don't believe, is they're making you have proof of stability for 10 years, which means that you had to be able to prove where you worked for 10 years. You had to have 3 people that were not related to you, that were not blood relatives, give you a reference. So luckily, my mom was a bit of a pat rack and she saved everything. We had shoe boxes and shoe boxes and shoe boxes of check stubs for like 20 years. So she, like, honestly, we pulled out shoe boxes of these check stubs that she'd been saving, who knows for what, but she was saving them. And this is why God told her to save them. And this is why she saved them.
Yes.
And luckily it was pretty simple because for that entire time, she worked at the same company. She worked at a small company that made wooden toys, and she worked in a factory. Back then, in the, I would say 80s, if you didn't show up to work, you didn't get paid. So there was no vacation pay. There was no medical benefits. There was none of that. If you didn't show, you didn't get paid. And she had 6 kids to feed. So guess what? She went to work every day. Every day. I could tell you where that woman was every day of my life. She was never away from us. She never obviously got remarried, so she never had a boyfriend. It was always family. It was always family and home. It was working, doing laundry, cooking, cleaning, working, doing laundry, cooking, cleaning. That's what she did. She was one of those moms that, I don't know, maybe old fashioned, but it was just, she like understood that she was the parent and she was both parents because again, dad wasn't around. So she was tough. She was tough. She didn't have a lot of patience. There was no explaining why the word no was all you ever heard.
I think that's a Latina, like old school Latina. There's no explanation. I mean, I know I grew up that way. It's like, no, mommy, can I go? No.
No.
and,
Oh, ¿por
and
qué?
now, ¿y por
Porque
qué?
yo digo.
Yeah, exactly. Porque yo lo digo. Oh my God. Then you and I had some similarities there because right now as a mom, my daughter will ask me, it's like, well, why can't I go? And then I feel like I need to give her an explanation. Why can't I be like old school? No. No means no.
No means no. Did you ever get, Jackie, did you ever get this one? Did you ever get this one? This is one of the ones that classic my mom. Classic my mom. Ah, ¿vas a llorar? ¿Vas a llorar? ¿Quieres que te dé para que de veras llores?
Yes. Oh my God. Did they go to the same school?
They must have. They must have. It was that if you're gonna cry, I'm gonna give you something to cry about.
Yeah, I'm gonna give you a reason to cry.
I'm gonna give you a reason to cry.
Yeah. Or how about the one, you know what? I'm gonna hit you and you're gonna jump this high. So keep on doing it. Oh my God.
That is so funny. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
So that's the way we were raised, which is why I think, I don't have any children, and I always think, I think that's why God didn't give me babies because I would have pulled out all that stuff out and that kid would have been taken away and sent to child services because I would have been like, wait a minute, that's the way I was raised.
Right. No, it's true. It's true. I mean, it's so interesting nowadays with kids. It's like, oh my God, you can't even touch them. Like, it's crazy. I'm like, if you spank them, oh, I'm gonna tell. And it's like, oh my God, it was just a little simple spanking so that you can stop doing what you're doing.
And the worst part is that the kids are the ones that are calling child services and the police on their parents.
Right. Yeah. No, I know. There's a lot of horrible stories. But girl, you being in this environment is what led you to who you are today. And isn't
Yeah.
it amazing? Like in hindsight, you're like, oh, I'm super grateful. Grateful that mom was
Oh
like
yeah.
this. Because without her, you wouldn't be where you are right now. Wow.
No,
So
exactly.
six people in one house. I can imagine your mom going loca.
Right. We used to, we didn't have a washer and dryer. One of the things that I learned about my mom was if you didn't have money to pay for it, you didn't buy it. That's just the way it was. And so for the longest time, we didn't have a washer and dryer, but we were really lucky because my mom didn't have a car either. But we lived across the street from a laundromat. So we used to cross this really big, busy street to go to the laundromat. And that's what my mom and I did either Saturdays or Sunday mornings. We would get up really early and we would put everything in our basket and we would run across the street and we would do the laundry. And that was kind of like our bonding time. I spent a lot of time with my mom, tons of time with my mom. And so, that's one of the things that now I'm really grateful for that I learned from her is the not going into debt, not going into debt for things that didn't matter. Like obviously, if you were going to buy a car, if you were going to buy a house, then you would go into debt. But a washer and dryer, oh no, that wasn't a big enough need for her to go into debt. And so that was one of the things that I learned from my mom. And
Wow.
so, at 15 and a half, I got my first job because I knew that like I had braces at that point. I had really bad teeth. I had gnarly teeth. This tooth right here was completely turned around. It wasn't even flat. It was like this.
Oh my.
Really, really bad teeth. So when I finally got braces, my mom was on an installment plan. And I knew that that was like a big spend for her. And I felt terrible. So I got my first job at 15 and a half. And I don't say this proudly, but it is part of my history. I didn't have a residency. At that point, amnesty wasn't in place yet. So I didn't have a social security number. In fact, we didn't get residency and I didn't get a real social security number until I was 16 and a half. So I got that job at Baskin Robbins with a made up social security card.
Well, honey, everybody did. I have clients, I'm an immigration attorney as well. And I had clients that would just get their social security numbers in MacArthur Park.
MacArthur Park. Yeah,
So
back then we didn't have a MacArthur Park. You just pulled one out of the air. You just made one up.
you made one up. Yeah, you do what you got to do sometimes. I mean, not that we're condoning that, but desperate times call for desperate measures. And
Yeah,
here, your mom had six mouths to feed and her. And so it's
right.
you got to do what you got to do. Oh my God, I love
Yeah,
the story. So you
yeah.
go to Baskin Robbins, you're like this little girl, 15 and a half, and then you get your residency. So then what happens after?
Well, at that point, there was a definitely relief, and I think the reason why there was relief is because I could see that my mom felt relieved. My mom felt like now she could actually strive for something better. Now, keep in mind, my mom is a woman with a sixth grade education. You know, for her, and I never understood this until my husband one day sat me down and said, "Look, your mom is living the American dream." Like I always used to say, like, why didn't she strive for more? My mom is really wise. She's really intelligent. Why didn't she push for more? Why did she settle for this? And my husband, Brian, sat me down one day and was just like, not mad, but I could tell he was really disappointed that I had said that because he said, and my husband's like white Irish guy from Massachusetts. Sat me down one day and he said, your mom is the American dream. He said, your mom crossed here with 6 kids. Never thought that she would have that, but my mom now like owns her house. She's so proud to own her house and live independent. She feels like she would always say to me, I never want to be a burden to my children. I never want to be a burden to my children. And to this day, my mom is 83 years old and still lives by herself in that house.
Wow. Wow.
And that was her version of the American dream. And because I think so much of my mom is that I think she could have had so much more. But Brian is right. She's a little girl from a small town in Mexico. She used to have to wear a yoke. After 6th grade, they pull you out if you're a girl, and you then work the family farm or you do whatever. So my mom would get up, she would put a yoke on, food on one side, water in the other, walk it out to the fields, feed the men, water the men, come back and do it all over again. And that was basically the way my mom grew up. And so for her, she would always say to me, why this work? Why TV? Like, that doesn't sound like a great job. Women have to do all kinds of crazy things to get jobs on television. What, like, meaning like the casting couch.
Yeah.
And I would say, no, they don't. And I'm not going to. She would say to me, why can't you just get an office job, with benefits and insurance and 2 weeks vacation? And I thought, you crossed the border. You brought me here to give me a better opportunity. You suffered humiliations the 3 times that you were deported. My mom was deported 3 times. You suffered all of this, and you want me to settle for less than my dream? You want me to settle for less than what I know I can attain? And that to me was where she and I would fight. We would fight because when we would have these conversations, I didn't have the vocabulary, and I didn't have the wherewithal to explain to her that what I was doing was for me, but in essence, it was for her too. Because me succeeding and me doing all that I was doing that for her, because I wanted to show her that her sacrifices and that her hard work was not
In vain.
in vain.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
And so now that I'm almost 50 years old, I can actually explain that to her. But when I was in my late 20s, early 30s, trying to explain to her that, no, Mom, your daughter isn't going to end up on the casting couch. Your daughter is not going to be a Me Too, movement girl. You gave me morals, you gave me value, you gave me a good sense of that, so that you don't have to worry about that.
Oh my God, I love that. I think that oftentimes, well, when we are in our 20s, 30s, I don't know any, personally, I don't know any mother-daughter relationship that is like super amazing. I think those are the years where you're like at each other's throats, because your personality is starting and your mom is still in her way, but you're still not understanding her way.
Right.
It's like you had to grow up in order to look back and be like, I get it now, Mom. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Every sacrifice that you've done, I'm doing what I got to do because of you, because I want to better myself and make you proud of me, right? I mean, ultimately, we want to make our parents proud, right? Wow, I love your mom. I want to meet her. she's she's a, yeah.
She's a funny little lady. My mom is complete opposite of me. Again, my dad died when I was 3, so I have really no idea what he was like because I don't remember him. But I can tell you that I am nothing like my mother. The only thing that I know now that I have from my mom is the work ethic. But I think all of her children have that work ethic because we just saw her day in and day out. One day, my oldest brother said to me, he was so annoyed at my mom because he wasn't feeling good. He felt like he was catching a cold or something, and he was thinking about calling out sick and staying home. And for whatever reason, he thought of my mom, and he got out of bed and he went to work because he remembered all of those days that my mom had gotten up and gone to work, no matter how she felt, how tired, how sick, whatever. He said, I can't even call in sick because I think of Mom and I feel guilty. And he got up and went to work.
But it's true because back in the 80s, you only got paid if you showed up, right? And
Yeah.
and it's just a testament the influence that she had on you guys.
Yeah.
Work ethic is number one. So let's talk about this work ethic. I realize that you have this family that you've been working since 15 and a half years old. You have this influence from your mom. You have this dream. So let's talk about this dream further, because I know you've done so many things, but one of the biggest things that you've done is become a meteorologist. So how did that unfold?
Well, I'm going to be really honest. The working on television was really not the dream. The dream was actually to work in radio, where
Oh,
you don't have to wear makeup and worry about what your hair looks like and worry about what you look like, because nobody sees you. You put on a baseball hat, you put on your glasses, you put on a pair of jeans and a sweatshirt, and you are out the door and working, and nobody knows any different. And so that was really the dream. When I was growing up, I used to listen to Lisa May on K Rock do the traffic, and I thought,
yeah.
do you remember that?
Yeah. I was
She's really,
so into K-Rock. So yes,
yeah,
I do remember that.
yeah. And now she's a really good friend of mine because we ended up working together, and we still keep in touch to this day. And I just thought, man, that would be a job. If I could just do that, it would be awesome, right? So fast forward years later, I'm like junior high school when I'm thinking about that. I'm at Santa Ana Community College because I went to community college, and then I went to a state school. And then from there, I went to another state school. So my professor, this is the early 90s, and my professor, Bud Little, says to me one day, promise me that you're going to try to get a job in television, because newspapers, I wanted to write I wanted to be a freelance writer, and I wanted to work in radio. Now, if you know anything about medium, of that kind of medium, it doesn't pay. Radio doesn't pay, and writing doesn't really pay.
Okay.
Unless you're a big syndicated, reporter or journalist, and then you get paid. But for the most part, neither one of those really make a lot of money for you. So I thought, that's okay. If I can write and I can work in radio, I'll be able to put a living together, and all will be well. I'm not going to be rich, but I'll be happy. And that's all that really matters. So I did try working in television, and I didn't like it for all the reasons that I knew I wasn't going to like it. It's all about hair and makeup. That's primary. And I get it. Back then I didn't understand it, but you think about it. You turn on the TV and you look at someone and you go, oh, okay, that person does not look offensive to my eye. I'm going to stay and I'm going to watch. And then you go, okay, that person's voice does not annoy me, so I'm going to stay and I'm going to hear, and then I'm going to listen. And you know what? I can sit with this. But again, it's a very aesthetic medium. So that's why the hair and the makeup is so important. This is why you can't go on TV looking like this, by the way, ladies. So
Amazing. She looks amazing.
So I knew that just wasn't for me. So I went back to what I wanted to do, which was working in radio and writing. So once I graduated from Cal State Long Beach, I had just started sending out queries, and queries are things that you write to newspapers and magazines to let them know what you want to write about. And if they're interested in the story, then they hire you freelance, and that's how you make a living. So right about that time, a friend of mine called me that I worked in radio, who had left radio and gone to TV. And he said, hey, ABC needs a new traffic reporter. And at this point, I was already working as a traffic reporter, airborne and in studio. So I had the experience. I go to the audition. I'm like, I don't want to do this. Don't have any interest in working in television. He said, don't be a dumbass. It pays a lot more money than radio. Trust me, you want to do this. I went, I auditioned. I didn't get the job. They called me back 6 months later and said, we want you to re-audition again. I'd seen all the girls that they hired between my first audition and when they called me back, and they were stunning. They were like models. And I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. So they call me back, and I'm like, okay, well, can you tell me why you didn't hire me the first time? Because otherwise you're just going to get the same exact thing. And they're like, why don't you put on some makeup and straighten your hair? So I asked, what about this? What about that? What about this? What about that? No, everything else. Just put on some makeup and straighten your hair. So I put on some makeup. I straightened my hair. I got done with the audition. They're like, can you start on Monday? That was a Friday. I started on Monday.
Oh my God. Wow. And this is ABC.
That was at ABC. That was at ABC 7 Eyewitness News. That was my first job in TV.
Wow. Wow. And it came to the makeup, and here you are. You were saying, like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to put on makeup. I don't want to dress up. I don't want to do any of that stuff. But yet you said yes.
Well, I had to, because Jay was right. It pays a lot more money than working in radio and writing freelance, and I'm not starving.
Right.
And in essence, I'm really happy that I've done that, because it's opened up a lot of opportunities to do a lot of nonprofit work that I don't think that I would have had the courage to do without that platform. because as my mom raised us to be very modest people, very quiet people, you don't you don't get involved. My mom was always very self-deprecating in that she would say, you know, I'm dumb. I only have a sixth grade education. My mom always looked at that as something that she didn't have. And because she talked to herself that way, and she talked to herself that way in front of us, that's what we picked up on. So in my mind, I didn't get to the point where I thought, well, if she can do it, I can do it. You know, at that point it was, well, my mom can't do it, and we're not smart people. Even up to like a few years, like even, you know, 3 or 4 years ago, I would catch myself going, well, I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed, but, and using like saying things like that to myself,
Yeah.
which, you know, it really damages you. It subconsciously undermines your mindset. And so I've gotten to the point where I don't say that anymore. I don't even say I'm not good at this. I always say I am learning and becoming better at math. I am learning. So when we open the restaurant, looking at those profit and loss sheets and looking at cost of goods and looking at all of those numbers was very challenging for me. And I decided that I had to change I had to wrap my mind around it. And the easiest way for me to do that was to tell myself that it was a language like anything else. Numbers are a language, and you just have to learn the language like you would learn French, like you would learn English, like you would learn Spanish. It's a language. So I had to change my mindset. And I'm going to be honest, my favorite thing about Arbonne is it really pushes me to do that. Becoming an entrepreneur and any kind of entrepreneurship is all about your mindset, is all about handling the challenges, figuring out a way to overcome them, growing from those experiences and building on them. And all of that begins with internal work.
Right. Oh God. Oh my God. Music to my ears, because I'm all about the internal work, because we've been programmed. Your mom sounds very familiar to my mom, so I know where you've gone. I know. So kind of rewiring your brain with those messages of like, I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough.
I'm not
Who do
pretty
I,
enough.
¿quién te crees? ¿Quién te
Yeah.
crees quién eres?
Yeah.
Right? Like who? Que
Who
la,
are
la,
you?
reina,
Yeah.
la reina y mata, like this,
Exactly.
quotes. Like, and it really, when you're a child and you hear this, you start believing it, and so that's what you carry along the way. And it's incumbent upon you to do the internal work to like get over that, break free from those patterns, and to move forward in a very graceful manner where you actually can say to yourself, like, I am freaking good at this. I am smart enough. And now they're I ams, as opposed to like, well, I don't know.
I'm not.
I'm
Jackie,
not.
that's why the work that you do, the coaching that you do, I think is really important to the foundation of anything. You know, even in entrepreneurship, in business, and anything, you need to have that foundation then to build, because even if you're a hustler, and even if you work really hard, and even if you do make millions, you know, if you don't have the foundation, if you don't have that mindset, guess what's going to happen? You're going to fall apart, and you're going to lose it, and you're going to have to rebuild all over again. And you will rebuild. I'm not saying you won't rebuild. You will rebuild, but you're going to have to go back and learn all of the things that you didn't learn the first time, so that you don't lose it again.
Yeah.
So that's why that coaching that you do, I think, is just, it's paramount. I think it's laying the foundation for this generation, for your generation, my generation, and the generations to come, to understand that it's not about no anymore. Like you and I grew up with presumida, quien se cree, all of those things, and the eternal no. Before I would even ask my question, my mom had already said no. So learning how to get rid of the no's in your life, and instead of saying no, it's if I was going to do this, how would I do it? It's about asking yourself questions so that your mind starts to create ways, being creative and opening ways, channels for you to find a path, to seek a path.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's not about the no, it's about, okay, so maybe I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to do it. So if I was going to open up a restaurant, how would I do it?
Yeah. Yeah.
As opposed to, oh my God, 9 out of 10 restaurants fail in the first year and you go into debt and all of these things, which are all of the things that cross my mind when we opened the restaurant. And mind you, I'd been saving for this restaurant since I was 17 years old, did not open until I was 39. So because again, you can't get a loan for a restaurant. So how are you going to open one if you don't have any money?
Right.
So
Yeah.
so it's just about changing your mindset. It's not about, I can't do this because 9 out of 10 restaurants fail. It's what am I going to do to make sure that mine is not one of those 9 out of 10s?
Yes.
What is it? So what do I do to make sure that mine is the one that survives that first year?
Nice. I love that. Oh my goodness. Well, as you said, it's all with the mindset. The mindset. I mean, yes, we're going to have fails, but you fail forward, right? You fail forward, not backwards, failed and, and just stay there stuck and sulking because, oh, I didn't do it right. Well, no, multimillionaires, they suck at a lot of things, but the difference is that they kept going. They
They
failed
don't give up.
forward. They failed forward. Okay, amiga.
Yeah.
So you started a restaurant, and then now you're also an independent consultant with Arbonne, doing healthy living. You're doing a lot of amazing things, and at the same time, meteorologist. So
Yeah.
how do you find balance? Like, how do you do that? How do you do it?
I think one of the first things that I think for me, one of the first things is the why. I think the three most important things that you look at when you're starting a business is obviously, you have your business plan and all of that. But I think the foundation is the why you do what you do. The why is what gets you out of bed when you feel overwhelmed and stressed and you have no idea how you're going to get yourself out of whatever situation you're in at the moment, with your business or in life, period. It's what is the passion. And I thought the restaurant was the passion. I thought that being in the restaurant business was the passion. And while there is a big part of the passion in that I love feeding people, I love welcoming people, I love serving people. My favorite thing was to, run food out and actually talk to customers and, if they needed something, what can I get you? I mean, that was really my favorite. I loved all of it. I mean, I did everything. I washed dishes. One time I was walking out of the bathroom at the restaurant with a plunger because the toilet was busted and somebody was walking in and I was walking out and the guy's like, Vera Jimenez, the weather lady, what are you doing with the plunger in your hand?
What are you doing? Shouldn't you be on our TV?
And then one day I was sweeping the floors and someone recognized me and they're like, Vera, is that you? What are you doing here? I thought TV paid better than that.
Well, little did they know that you have this restaurant. So
Yeah. And
yeah.
I didn't say anything to him. I'm like, hey, look, man, you do what you got to do. And that was all I said. I'm like, I got to sweep these floors. It's looking bad in here.
Right.
So, it's just about understanding the why. And for me, the why is, the restaurant was really centered around healthy food and giving people a healthy option. So for me, it's always been about health, fitness, and wellness. When I was raised as a little girl, my mom, we didn't have a lot of money. And every dime that she spent on food that was going to nourish us and that was going to be good for us and that was going to sustain us, primarily because my mom didn't have any insurance. So she didn't have money to pay for doctor's visits. If we got sick, she had to put together a home remedy to to cure us. So there wasn't a lot of money. And so she thought, if I give them proper nutrition, my kids are not going to get sick.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we were raised, that's how we were raised. And so once the restaurant went out, I realized that the part of me still missed the customer service, the being of service, the giving people healthy options. And then I discovered this health and wellness company, first with the skincare and then with the products. And then I realized that the why is really about helping people on their health journey. And that is how I find the balance. You were asking, how do you find the balance? How do you do it? You do all of these things. Because everything that I do is surrounds my why, whether it's, working as a Rotarian, working with the Boys and Girls Club, working with Richstone Family Center, all of that has to do with being of service and helping people. All of these organizations are about helping people. Like now the Boys and Girls Club is doing a lot with food insecurity because of the pandemic, and people are out of work and they don't have enough food. So now they're doing a lot with not just the after school activities and the tutoring and the paths to college, but now they're doing stuff with food insecurities. Rotary is all about, they were started because of vaccinations. Now they're not involved with the vaccinations that are going on now, but we do a lot with like water projects internationally. So we do a lot with like literacy and food and women's health issues. So it's all about being of service, and it's all very health related. The Boys and Girls Club does the sports and the activities. And I think, giving kids an outlet to learn how to play sports and sportsmanship and just being outside gets them off of the TV and appreciating the sunshine and the vitamin D and the working your cardiovascular and all of the things that are related to health. And so as I think about it, I realize that that's what my life really surrounds. And that's why for me, this health and wellness business is a perfect pairing. I don't sell it because I have to. I don't do Arbonne because I want, yeah, I do want to make the money. And yeah, it's fun to like, hey, one day I'm going to be a millionaire doing this. Yeah, all of that is great, but it's the giving people options and giving them skills and educating people on how to take better care of themselves and how to take better care of their health. Because I think that when you feel good from the inside out, it shows. And when you feel good from the inside out, you present yourself better in the world, and you're better to yourself, you're better to your family, your community, your coworkers, to the world in general.
Yeah, absolutely. Inside out. I mean, starting with your brain, the mindset, and nourishing your soul with proper nutrition. I mean, your mom had it. Like she had the whole proper nutrition, like making sure that you guys didn't get sick. But little did she know that you were going to take that value and run with it. Like, look at you. Like now, I mean, you're all over teaching people, being of service, doing mentorships. I mean, you are just an amazing, amazing, amazing woman. I can't stop talking about you. Oh
Well,
my God.
thank you. Thank you. And I think also too, you have to remember is that, you don't do it by yourself. I had help along the way. I had people that helped me, it's a hand up, not a handout. I'm a big believer in you give people a hand up, you teach them, you teach them how to feed themselves and feed their families so that then they can become independent. Because I think when you are independent and you're providing for your family and you're providing for yourself and you can take care of yourself, you have the confidence to face the world. You walk out with your held head up high and you go, no, 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 no. This is me. I earned this. No one gets to take credit for this but me. And when you have that confidence, people can try to put you down. People can try to discriminate against you. People can try to, treat you as you're less than. But when you know what you've done, when you know what you're capable of, you go, oh, no, no, you got this all wrong.
Right, right, right. Oh my God. Oh my God. That's why you're handling your shit, girl. like through and through. Oh my God. Okay, we can continue to talk and talk and talk and talk, but I know that our time is going to end. But before we end, I
Yes.
always ask my guests 1 or 2 tips how an amiga can handle their shit. I know you've done so much. Oh my God. And there's so many ways that they can, but I want to hear from you. What do you think? What can an amiga do to handle her shit?
I think more than anything, as we talked about earlier, it's doing that internal work. Like work on yourself, because especially when you have children, these are things that you're going to pass on to your kids, because remember, your children want to please you, they love you, they look up to you. You are their hero. Until you choose to stop being their hero, you are their hero as parents, right? So you want to do that internal work because they're watching you. They're watching you and they're following whatever it is that you do. You know, the lady that comes to clean my house, her kids used to eat eggs, and now because she doesn't eat eggs, the kids don't eat eggs. She doesn't eat broccoli, so the kids don't eat broccoli. They literally mimic what you do. So when you think they're not watching, they're watching. So you need to work on yourself from the inside out. Your mind, your physical body, your mental, your physical well-being, all of that. You have to work on that because kids are watching, and people that you think aren't watching, and they're picking up cues. You don't realize how influential you are. And you know, what you do does matter. You think that you live in a little corner and no one's watching, and that's not true, especially in the time of social media. So do that internal personal work. Do that personal work, because that, I think, is key to everything else. That personal internal work will get you above any hurdle, over any hurdle, through any hurdle that you need to get to, to do whatever it is that you want to do. Really quick tip: if you're going to be an entrepreneur and you're going to own a brick and mortar, pay yourself rent. Buy the building. Buy the building if you can, to start a brick and mortar business, because you know, paying yourself is the best thing. And in terms of like handling your finances, the first thing is always remember to pay yourself first. Always pay yourself first, so that you have money for when a pandemic hits and there's a rainy day. And even if it's $5 out of every paycheck in a savings account that you use, even if it's $5, I'm not kidding, that sounds ridiculous, but if you save $5 out of every paycheck, you see that grow over time. And just leave it like something lost, como cosa perdida, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my
But
God, for
but you
sure.
always need to pay yourself first, whether that's through your 401k, through a Christmas fund, through an emergency fund, whatever it is. Those are the things first. Pay yourself first. If you're gonna own a brick and mortar, pay yourself rent, which means buy the building if you can. And last but not least, and most important, is do your personal development work. Call Jackie. She'll help you.
Mic drop. Oh my God. Yes. Those are amazing tips. Yes. You know, when you become an entrepreneur, I mean, it's you got to think of everything, right? You got to think of, okay, you got your what's it called? You got your income stream, and then you also have your costs. But then there's more to the equation. It's just not that. There's way
No.
more to that. And I think oftentimes we think that, oh, we'll pay ourselves last because I need to pay my employees, I need to pay the workers comp, I need to pay their health insurance, whatever it is, and then there's nothing to pay you.
Right.
And when we get hit with a pandemic that we just what we're in right now, you're left with nothing.
Right.
And that's why businesses are closing. They're
That's
closing.
why businesses, yeah. And you know, and one of the things too is like, if you're an entrepreneur, yes, absolutely. But I can tell you that that's one of the reasons why we had to sell the restaurant, was because the growth was outpacing, actually the cost of doing business was outpacing the growth. So it was getting to the point, like, never in the 5 years did we never pay a vendor. We never not paid our lease. Like we made sure everybody got paid. That was the most important thing. But when we realized that it was going to start getting to the point where we weren't going to be able to do that, because minimum wage was going to go up again to $15 an hour. Our lease was going to go up again. Once minimum wage goes up, everything else goes up.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely.
The consumer, what people don't understand is that every time there's a minimum wage raise, the consumer is the one that ends up paying for it.
Yeah, I think that it's a big, huge misconception, I believe, that when things like, yes, you like to hear that your wage is going to increase to $15, but guess what? The entrepreneur needs to, pony up, also pay you, and then his costs are increasing as well because those companies have staff that they have to pay. So it's just it's a cycle. It's a
Cycle.
huge cycle.
It's a circle.
It's a
It's this never ending circle. And, and the other thing too is that I think what I find a little disappointing in the minimum wage, and not that I don't want people to make a living wage, but, when we're talking about $15 an hour for somebody that works at a cash register at McDonald's, you're setting the bar so low that people then become comfortable and they don't strive for anything more.
Yeah, yeah.
And you take away people's ability to strive for more or to want more or to even consider doing more. If I'm making $15 an hour and I can pay my rent on that, and all I'm doing is flipping burgers or working at a cash register, I'm not demeaning that, and I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that, but you want to push people to strive for more.
Yeah.
Like, you want people to want more, not just for themselves, but for their children.
And for their community. Incentivize them to be more, like, just don't settle, right? Oh, I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
Oh my.
You have, people have all of this talent,
Mhm.
all of this, energy that they don't even realize that they have, that they don't have the opportunity to share. And when you're saying, oh, don't worry about it, when they're not challenged, when the bar is set so low for them that people feel like, well, nobody expects anything of me because they're paying me this much and all I'm doing is doing this. Like there isn't a challenge there. You're not asking people to rise and to build and to expand. And I think that is just such a waste of human potential that it saddens me.
Yeah, I know. I know. But listen, amigas out here, amigas, you need to implement Vera's tips seriously, because we need to strive further, bigger, better, because we deserve it. We deserve it,
And we're capable.
and we're
We're
capable,
capable.
fully capable. So change your mindset. If you're not seeking growth, that's the first thing you need to change. Enter into personal development, right? Just
And,
go work
and
in.
that, and Jackie, that personal development, whether you're an entrepreneur or not, doesn't matter. It's going to help you.
Mhm.
It's
Totally.
going to, you'll become a much better employee, coworker. You'll become a bigger asset to the company that you're working for. Personal development crosses a spectrum of lines. So it'll help you no matter where you are in your life.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you. Thank you so much, Vera. You are an amazing person. The things that you're doing, God, is so incredible. You are using your platform for good. And I love that you're a badass Latina, and many women here, amigas, you're going to relish in the knowing of this amazing amiga, and all the wisdom that she shared today. Ah, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much, Vera, for coming here,
Thank you.
spending some time with me at Amiga Handle Your Shit podcast.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure. You're doing awesome work. Keep doing it. Keep inspiring us, and keep sharing people's stories because they're super inspiring.
Oh, thank you. Thank
Thank you. I've been listening to your podcast, and now it's like, oh, who's going to be on this week? Let me see what I can learn.
you. Well, you're going to be on very soon.
Thank you. Thank you for letting me share my story.
Oh, absolutely. It's such a beautiful story. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.